The community built on video game piracy is so interesting.
Your wish will be granted, dear Empress.
You must be very proud of yourself.
And one day she would erase your hard drive out of nowhere.
Nothing in between.
And you've probably even ran code from them on your own computer if you've pirated before in your past. I spent this last week researching, emailing, and even interviewing important key people that you probably wouldn't even recognize by name if you're a pirate yourself. This is Dodi. He's a world-famous repacker that compresses cracked video games and then releases them to the World Wide Web. Dodi, how hard is it to do what you do?
Repacking games is time-consuming. You need to check game files and game engines and test tools till you decide what method is good for each game file. So to repack one game could take between 2 to 30 hours based on game size and type of files.
Do you ever worry that you'll get caught?
I don't crack games, but yeah, I share copyrighted content. Of course I'm worried. In the country I live now though, doesn't have copyright protection laws, so there's not much to worry about.
Is what you do ethical?
The main idea for me of sharing those repacked games is to give users the chance to play the game and decide either to buy or ignore it. Our repacks work as a free demo.
You wouldn't download a car, would you? Because that's exactly what piracy is, says the extremely awkward, cringy, and untrue anti-piracy campaigns that were being aired like 20 years ago. Matter of fact, if you recall seeing these, most of you have, these videos actually increased the rate of piracy because it made it look so interesting and cool. They tried to push this idea that you stealing a car is the same thing as you watching a free movie online. What? How do you make that? That's the dumbest argument ever. Look, well, I'll be honest, it is illegal. Piracy is totally illegal, and I recommend that nobody should ever break the law. But we have to be honest with each other here. Piracy isn't theft, okay? Theft removes the original, and piracy just makes a clone of it. It's just a bad argument to make, which is why even the US court agrees with me. Since 1985, a court case named Dowling v. United States actually clarified that copies of copyrighted works were not stolen goods. In the earlier days of piracy, when the game knew that you were playing on a pirated copy, it would try to scare the living daylights out of you by having in-game characters tell you that they knew what you were up to.
I'm sorry, Spyro, but you seem to be playing a hacked version of this game. This may be an illegal copy. Since this copy has been modified, you may experience problems that would not occur on a legal copy.
Or, if you're playing The Witcher 2, every time there was an intimate scene, they would do weird stuff like replace the woman's avatar that he was going to, like, you know, do some very intimate stuff with, like give his V-card to, for an example. Check it out, iamLucid.com for your very own V-card. They would actually replace the girl's avatar with an extremely ugly girl, just so that you feel really uncomfortable as you're playing this game. Or even in the game Spyro. It would change the language as you were playing randomly.
Mein taktischer Instinkt sagte mir, dass die Zauberin dich.
And it would also remove eggs in your inventory, which basically means you couldn't complete the game.
But after playing for a little while, I noticed an egg straight up disappeared from my collection.
Making it so annoying that while you could technically walk around and stuff, you just didn't want to even play anymore and you would just kind of give up after a while. And that's actually pretty effective. And while that might have been a really clever way to get kids to stop pirating, in today's time, it's far more serious. There is this new piece of software, probably the biggest threat to piracy's existence yet. It's called Denuvo.
The company behind Denuvo really wants you to be convinced their DRM isn't, quote, evil.
Every time a big game comes out, there's always some douchey anti-cheat attached to it.
This is clearly not working for anyone.
Like, that doesn't give me confidence that Denuvo has honest intent.
Tough shit. You cannot play your game.
What do these companies do to prevent piracy in their video games?
The first most obvious thing is they implement DRM, that's the short for digital rights management, in a way to protect the game from getting cracked. The most famous DRM right now that takes all the news is Denuvo, which has been on for at least close to 10 years.
The video game companies hired Denuvo to implement their anti-piracy software into their video games that they just spent so many years and millions of dollars creating. Now, according to some sources and some leaks, Denuvo actually charges these companies that make video games for the first initial year $150,000 US, only for 1 year of their service. Every month after that, according to some leaks, costs $2,000 US per month afterwards. Denuvo has features like dynamic triggers, meaning that as you're playing the game, once you hit a certain level, it'll dynamically check if the game files have been tampered with or if it's still intact. It also encrypts and decrypts files on the fly as you're playing, and if it detects any changes in your game hardware, like your GPU or CPU changes, it'll make an online verify to call to their server, and if it cannot verify that the game files are correct, it'll lock you out of it entirely. Even if you're playing an offline only game, it will still actually require you to connect to the internet every couple of weeks to verify the game files are still the correct files. This actually shrinks the amount of time that crackers have to play with their software. And what would it take for someone to learn the skills necessary to crack Denuvo?
So Denuvo is designed in a way to make the job of reverse engineer as difficult and time consuming as it possibly can. They never claimed that they were uncrackable. Their entire goal, at least that was in Denuvo's words, was to delay the crackers as much as they can. And they succeeded at that time because many skilled crackers have attempted to actually crack Denuvo. So through time, Denuvo becomes much stronger and more difficult to crack. And in a way, a lot of crackers have basically given up on cracking Denuvo as a result due to its time consuming nature.
Their detection algorithms are so sophisticated that no sane human being can wrap their head around it, which is where we get someone called Empress.
I had a dream one night in 2014. There were chains made up of numbers wrapped around the video game Dark Souls 2. As I focused, I began to see what every number meant universally. Then I entered the zone, allowing me to see more into everything, and the chains broke.
When Hogwarts Legacy dropped, people thought that it would be uncrackable. It had Denuvo's protection and the best version of it yet, but Empress said,
"I'll have it cracked in 10 days.
People were going crazy about her, literally praising her existence during this time, and I didn't understand why. I was actually there reading this live until I saw one post by a Reddit user. He says, "I work in software engineering. You have to be insane to crack something that is Denuvo protected. This is an anti-tampering piece of software that hundreds of really smart people have worked on. They're often from the cracking scene, and they have the code. They can read it, make it better, and they can do insane shit like put a system in place that randomly modifies instructions on the fly so they can call back a routine that checks if there was any tampering. They can add multiple checks that this routine was not tampered with at compile time. They can even introduce side effects that become necessary for the game to run, which is incredibly difficult to debug and fix. Why do you think that Denuvo protected games have decreased performance? Then there's a single person that comes in, does not have the original code, so they just read the disassembly, and from that they manage to revert the protections of all these smart people put in place. All of that while fully knowing you won't get anything out of it apart from a little recognition. Because the law is against you, while that kind of skill can easily land you 7 figures annual salary just by switching to the other side. No one can achieve what she did without some form of auto-destructive mental illness or ultra-idealist mindset. This is not just impressive, it's literally insane. It's just not worth it. But she still does it for some godforsaken reason she convinced herself with, and it makes us happy, I guess. Even on a purely technical standpoint, I know a little bit of what's possible if you really try, and Denuvo definitely does, and it affects their value. Really, I cannot stress how insane this achievement is. She did not just make tools that crack the games, she probably had to make tools that generates tools that crack the game, and tools to help her build the tools that generate the tools for the crack. It's just effing insane. When a cracker uploads this pirated content online, they usually include an NFO text file along with it. Normally, it's just some random updates or a way for them to get a message out to their supporters safely, but Empress instead uses these NFO files to go on a full-blown rant that's extremely controversial and even hateful.
I fully stand with J.K. Rowling as countless women who did, because most men are just dying out of jealousy of us and want to take a piece of the cake too. Even if it comes out corrupted, broken, and completely ruined. And this is something only real women would understand, because we women are the ones that is getting damaged and stolen from, so we are hurt the most by it. As a result of the rise of this new woke movement, society now made every man today is always either a sissy bitch or misogynistic mother, nothing in between.
Then she goes on this extreme vulgar tangent about woke culture, gender issues, and far, far worse stuff I cannot speak about in this video. She ends up somehow building a huge following on Telegram with over 190,000 members in her Telegram right now, waiting for her next crack. But she's a P2P cracker, meaning that she does this as an independent free agent, if you will. The vast majority of games that get cracked, however, are actually made by people in the scene. Can you tell me a little bit more about the scene and who they are, what their motives are, and exactly why they're in a cult-like group that nobody can enter or even make communications with?
The scene is basically a group that has existed since late 80s, early 90s. They mainly originated from those old BBS forums, and ever since then have had really strict rules in terms of anonymity and how they distribute files in a way that they wouldn't get caught by the law enforcement.
So who made the scene?
Nobody actually knows who made the scene. All it was known is that the scene was originally started in those old BBS forums.
They don't want to let people know who they are in order to even be able to report them to, like, let's say the government, because punishment is extreme in some cases, and there's been people who have been caught and jailed.
There was also a rumor in the Russian forum cs.rin that Denuvo also consists of some of the past scene members. who have actually taken a job at Denuvo, and is mainly probably the reason why Denuvo is actually so successful at preventing certain crackers from cracking it.
They have their own rules website, which is their own like moral code of conduct and how they operate with the public, etc. They basically just crack video games relentlessly. They are animals, and that's all anybody really knows about them. They do it for their own challenge, they do it for ego. Nobody really knows why, since they're not really getting paid, but they do a damn good job at it, and you've probably even ran code from them on your own computer if you've pirated before in your past. Names like Codex, Rune, CPY, Skid Row, these guys are all a part of the scene, and they're really trustworthy according to everybody that pirates games. But if we're being honest, if anybody really knows how to crack a Denuvo game that's a pro at it, it's CPY. They're an Italian scene group that, again, no one knows much about. They have cracked Denuvo 65 times, while Empress has cracked it 25 times. Now, when the piracy community downloads these pirated games, there's always a chance that they could actually get caught. Now, some people post on the Reddit about them getting letters sent to their house from their ISP, or even getting a copyright troll send them a real lawsuit to their house for downloading video games for free online. I actually plan on making a full video diving into these copyright trolls that just send lawsuits to everybody's house that's downloading free video games online, and they actually either take them to court or charge them a lot of money. If you want to learn more about these guys, then please subscribe to watch that video. These pirates have a tutorial on their subreddits that explain exactly how to never ever leak your real IP address and how to never get caught. They first download a program called QBitTorrent, and then they get a VPN that they trust. They get the proxy of this VPN, they put the information into QBitTorrent software, and they lock it up with a bunch of different configuration and settings, making it so that their real IP address never ever leaks to the torrent that they're downloading. Empress has a history of getting into fights with people that repack and crack video games, like for an example, Fit Girl. You probably all know who she is if you've ever downloaded any pirated software ever. She's one of the most widely known and trusted repackers probably in the world. I've also reached out to her to be a part of this video, but she respectfully declined, unfortunately. She basically made a public post on her website saying this:
Empress intentionally limited the uploading speed of her seed box to 200 kilobytes per second so that no one would download the ISO before others. And why did she do that? She hates all repackers for stealing the spotlight from her work. It's against common logic and piracy ethics. Well, your wish will be granted, dear Empress. I will never make any repacks with your cracks again. I don't want to be related to the toxicity you've created with your last statements and actions. Right now, her cracks are probably safe for use, but I can't be sure if it will stay the same, and one day she would erase your hard drive out of nowhere if you decide to leave her pseudo-cult chat or think her community is bad.
Now, sometimes Empress makes an NFO file when she drops a video game, and then she'll start calling out other people that crack. For example, Skid Row, who ended up retaliating like crazy and flaming her in his NFO file of a cracked Denuvo game. The group says this:
"You fucking lousy beggar. You haven't created any game or software in your life that would benefit the P2P masses out there. All you can do is beg and steal others' work. You must be very proud of yourself, especially when you pack up all this in a golden foiled philosophy. Your support expressed in NFO for J.K. Rowling's was laughably epic. By cracking Hogwarts game and depriving her of her rightful income? Yeah, I bet she really appreciated that." You fucking loser.
Speaking of the scene, it's strange how they just don't contact the outside. They don't communicate with nearly anybody. It's quite literally impossible to get a hold of these guys. But of course, that's by design. And because of this, I don't think any of them have ever been set up by the feds. I don't think they've been caught. I don't think they've ever been doxxed. Nobody knows anything about anybody in the scene. And that's probably why it's so effective. Unlike the Silk Road video that I made where they found the owner of the biggest dark web drug market by becoming his friend over time and all this extra stuff, you can't do that with anybody in the scene because they just don't talk to anybody. This whole scene concept really baffles me because all of these talented individuals, and that's really what they are. You can hate them, you can say that they're evil, whatever you want. In reality, everybody in this scene is a genius. Realistically, they can get hired at any anti-piracy company, make at least $400,000 to $600,000 per year salary, but instead they choose to take the illegal route, making literally no money just so that everybody can play video games for free. These people that are cracking video games, I'm assuming they're not really making too much money, right?
They can't ask for donations. Empress is the most famous example because she originally asked $500 to crack a game of your choice, considering that she said that the expenses are for test equipment and everything else. So in reality, if you're a part of the scene, you don't do it for money, you do it for a challenge, for fun, so to say.
I mean, I kind of calculated from the Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin wallets, she made around $40,000. But regardless, she could be being paid, like at minimum, people are saying online, like close to like $500,000 to $1 million per year working at an anti-cheat company. Do you think that's a valid claim? game.
Well, she specifically said that she would never work for those, and she even claimed in one of her NFOs that she was offered to work in one of those companies and that she refused that money. So certainly I could see that some crackers would actually take that offer, considering how poorly you're being paid for even cracking a game for piracy and everything. But in general, I could see that offer being accepted, especially since Denuvo, like Denuvo's parent company, Denuvo is owned by a parent company called Denuvo. Denuvo is actually a huge company that actually charges at least 100,000 euros for their DRM. So I would assume that actually a salary for a reverse engineer or a software engineer back in Denuvo is huge. And as a result, I could actually see why some people who would reverse engineer it would claim like, oh, I want to crack Denuvo, look at Denuvo and see, oh, wait, they pay a lot of money for this. I could basically be earning a living. So like, I'm just going to instead be working for them instead of cracking their DRM and being at risk of getting apprehended by law enforcement.
Empress has a crypto wallet that she accepts donations from, and she usually places it in her NFO files when you download a game for free. Now, if you gather up all of her crypto wallets, at least the public ones because Monero is private, her Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum wallets only total up to $40,000. That's not a lot of money for cracking software for multiple years when she could have made at least $2 million working for a company. Now, piracy is illegal and you should never do it, but what would it look like if you were just to hit me with a, oh shit, Lucid, my finger slipped? Each cracker and repacker usually have their own custom UI with their software starts playing music as it's downloading this super illegal software onto your computer, and it looks overall just kind of odd and strange. Now, a cracker would just give you the full game outright, where a repacker would take that file, compress it so drastically, so instead of it being 140 gigabytes, it's instead 70 gigabytes, making the download time literally cut in half. In the torrenting world, that is huge, by the way. Normally, because when you're torrenting and you're leeching off of somebody else's seed, it's kind of complicated, but you're just downloading the software from multiple people's computers around the world, making it a decentralized software exchange platform. This usually is done in a really slow method. So when somebody repacks the game, people love them for it. The installer is supposed to make it super easy to download the game without having to drag and drop files from your C drive and follow this super long instruction manual. The software just does it all for you. And let's just say the game works and everything looks good. You got a $70 brand new game that just released for free. What if there's a virus? Is it safe?
That is a risk for you to take every time you want to engage in piracy. Now, certainly there are ways to minimize that risk. I can't really say that for software, but for video games, like the subreddit r/crackwatch, actually inform the public which games are cracked, who is the cracker, and full of useful information on where you can download and how you can download that without the risk of getting a virus.
What percentage would you say it is that you're not going to get a virus if you follow the proper steps?
Probably going to be like a 90% chance you're not going to get a virus. And even then, it's 90% because you can find like a fake website that actually has a virus.
One issue I made a video about years back was a cracked software that was a plugin for Premiere Pro, and this editing software plugin would actually normally cost I think like 50 or 60 bucks a month, but instead if you pirated it you would get it for free permanently. That's a lot of money you'd normally be paying every year. So a lot of video editors do this. I'd say I've never met a video editor in my life that doesn't pirate plugins or even the software itself, I'm just saying. But hackers know that, and they know that either editors or YouTubers or somebody that has a really popular channel is eventually going to download this plugin. So they'll go ahead and crack the software for you. Sure, it's gonna work, but in a matter of no time, your channel would go from iamLucid to Bitcoin Elon Musk doubling money real quick. FitGirl states on her website that some cracks are protected with special anti-debugging tools. This is to prevent competing groups or even anti-piracy companies from figuring out the logic of how they crack the code. But that also means that nobody else can analyze the software for malware. It's always a matter of trust, as FitGirl says, but for some crackers, it's not a matter of blind trust. CPY cracks, for an example, don't have any protection at all, meaning that anybody can look at the code and verify for themselves that it's not a virus and they can prove it empirically. It seems their motives are either fame, challenge, or even video game preservation. And this is a really, really good argument for the guys that say piracy is a good thing. A lot of our childhood games are not being sold anymore, and if it wasn't for these pirates, you would not be able to go and emulate and play all the games you grew up playing on your really old console that I'm not going to say the name of, that starts with an N and ends with an O. Think about all of those old game consoles that you grew up playing and all the old games on them. You just can't buy them anymore. These games are not being sold. Even if you wanted to pay top dollar, the companies just don't sell them. So the games either die with time or they are preserved by the pirates.
I like to archive software. Right now, I have my eyes on the Switch, and give it about a few more years and I'll open up a shop again. But the heat is too much right now. Like going after everybody who makes a shop.
So you're a shop that has all the games that people can download for free. How do you go about gathering every single game? made?
In the early days of my Discord server, we had a team of people that would dump their games for us, and then we would archive it in Google, and then we would put it to the shop, and then we would update the shop, and then you'd have new games to download. I did not want to make any money off of this because I know if I did, be on my ass like no one's business.
So tell me more about how tried to take you down and sent you a cease and desist. Explain that to me from the start.
I think they had spies in my Discord server, and they would like take screenshots of what we were doing. They would get in contact with our admin somehow, like maybe finding their IP address or something like that, and then they would send them letters and stuff like that.
And because they sent all of your admins, or at least a lot of them, a cease and desist letter, you started to take down the server for that reason?
That's right, because I didn't want anybody to get in trouble. It wasn't worth it.
Do you live in
the USA? Yeah, I live in the US.
Are you worried that you might get caught by...
Nah, I'm not worried. I'm very protected. Like, I don't log into the tools that I use on my actual computer. I have like a throwaway computer that's on a VPN, so they can't really touch me.
So what steps do you take to make sure that this can never catch you?
If I tell you that, I'll have to kill you.
Alright, deal.
Because I'll basically what you do, you just get like a throwaway computer, like just buy one for like $200 from Amazon or something, and then get like a VPN on there from the Netherlands. You got to make sure that it's a VPN that's in the Netherlands because they log your data, and the servers that I have and the domains that I have, I bought them with Bitcoin. So if you're trying to stay away from, don't use your real name when setting up these domains and servers, because that'll come back and get you whenever someone does like a who is inquiry on the domain or on the server. Yeah. They can find you.
What have you seen to people that are in the same shoes as you?
Oh shit, they go after them, like show up to their house.
But old nostalgic video games aren't the only reason why somebody would try to do this. The game called The Crew, which is an online only racing game, recently had the plug pulled by Ubisoft, making it so that if everybody that bought the game can no longer play it, and you're out of your money. Sorry. The game came out in 2015, and Ubisoft said they'd only give refunds to players that bought the game recently. This is literal theft. How are they making anti-piracy campaigns saying you wouldn't download a car when Ubisoft is stealing from its consumers that paid money? This is theft. That's theft because the original was stolen. You see what I'm saying? Bring it full circle. So who's stealing from who realistically? So the crew was never cracked like you said, right?
Yes, the crew was specifically online only. That means that the crucial data was stored in Ubisoft servers. And when Ubisoft pulled the plug, those crucial data were gone with it as well.
So everyone that paid money for that game, they don't get a refund?
That's right.
They're the ones pirating from us.
And Ubisoft can simply say, oh, well, but in our terms of service, it says that you don't own the game, you just own the license for the game. So that way we can shut it down whenever you want and you can't do anything about it.
Wow. So Denuvo, basically, we're all relying on Denuvo to stay an active company for us to play the games that we purchase. And if they somehow want to shut down their servers or close up shop or they go bankrupt or whatever it is, the games that we're paying for could likely be gone forever because it needs to call back to their server to make sure that the anti-cheat is still running. Is that correct?
That's right. Unless the game is not cracked, that game will basically be lost. Like the crew will be lost time. There was an article that one YouTuber had linked called Ross Scott. He linked that around 80% of games that have been made are not available to purchase. So just think about this. If you want to play, for example, Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, one of the greatest racing games ever made, you can't buy it. EA doesn't sell it, mainly due to the license problem. What is the only way to play it? Well, it's to pirate it.
Is piracy morally okay? And I feel like after we discussed this last issue with the crew and companies taking back the games that you've previously, even Minecraft did something very similar. They basically made it so that if you don't migrate your account from Mojang to Microsoft, you lose the game. And somebody actually tested this out on YouTube. He purposely did not migrate his account. He waited months or even close to a year. I forgot the time period. And even after writing letters, like physical letters and emails and calling and doing every possible thing that he could do as a human being to ask Mojang or ask Minecraft to give him his paid account back, they said no, buy the game by yourself. He even asked, can you guys give me $25 as a refund? They said no, pay for it again. $25 after going all the lengths, which is like this is robbery. I feel like if he were to sue them for robbery of $25, and if he had all the funds for lawyers necessary, he can really make a standout case that could probably change the law somewhere. And it's unfortunate. That's ridiculous, bro. There's actually one YouTuber that's so heated by this. His name is Accursed Farms. He has a site called StopKillingGames.com. He's literally making a worldwide campaign and trying to mess these guys up and fight back as hard as possible in every possible country. So check that out and find ways that you can actually fight back so nobody can do this to us ever again. So now that let you stay till the end of this video. I want to see your honest opinion. Don't be politically correct. Let me know down below. Is piracy a good thing or is it a bad thing? After you saw all the different points of views, did it change your mind at all? I'm looking to hear comments from all of you. I'll be reading down below. And by the way, thank you for staying till the end of this video, man. I love you so freaking much. Wallah, it means so much to me. You're my freaking boys. I love you. Stay dreaming. Stay lucid. I'm out. Peace. Oh, also, before I go, my Discord moderators literally made me a shirt, bro. Look how cute this is, bro. We love you, Lucid. Join iamLucid Discord. Also a shameless plug for you. They also put their names on the back of it, which is kind of sweet. I like it a lot. Thank you guys. Love you. Peace.